Chapter 1. Arrival. It was a sunny morning in London when Lynn stepped off the plane. She had just moved from Vietnam to study English at a local language school. As she walked through the airport, she was overwhelmed by the sights and sounds around her. Everything was so different from what she was used to. First, she needed to find her way to the hostel where she would be staying. She had booked a room online, but now she had to figure out how to get there. She spotted a taxi stand and decided to take a cab. "Excuse me, can you take me to this address?" she asked the taxi driver, showing him the paper with the hostel's address. The driver nodded and motioned for her to get in. As they drove through the city, Lynn looked out the window, trying to take in as much as she could. The buildings were tall and gray, and the streets were busy with people and cars. When they arrived at the hostel, Lynn paid the driver and got out. She took a deep breath and walked inside. "Hello? I have a reservation under Lynn Tran," she said to the receptionist. The receptionist checked her computer and handed her a key. "Room 205, second floor. Elevator is over there." Lynn thanked her and went to find her room. Once inside, she unpacked her suitcase and tried to settle in. She was tired from the long flight, but she knew she had to stay awake to adjust to the new time zone. After resting for a bit, she decided to go out and explore the neighborhood. She walked down the street, looking at the shops and restaurants. She saw a cafe and thought she might get some tea. "Hi, can I have a cup of tea, please?" she asked the barista. "Certainly. What kind would you like?" the barista replied. Lynn was a bit confused. In Vietnam, tea was just tea, but here there were many varieties. Just regular tea, I guess." The barista smiled. "We have Earl Grey, English breakfast, jasmine, and more. Or would you like green tea?" Lynn wasn't sure. "Maybe English breakfast tea." "Good choice," the barista said, pouring her a cup. Lynn took her tea and sat by the window, watching people pass by. She felt a mix of excitement and nervousness about starting her new life here. As she sipped her tea, she thought about her first day at the language school tomorrow. She hoped she would make some friends and that her English would improve quickly. Chapter 2. First day at school. The next morning, Lynn woke up early to get ready for her first day at the language school. She chose a simple outfit and made sure she had all her materials, notebook, pen, and her English dictionary. She took the bus to the school, which was a short ride from her hostel. When she arrived, she saw a group of students gathered outside, chatting and laughing. She felt a bit shy, but decided to approach them. "Hi, are you here for the English class?" she asked a girl who looked about her age. "Yes, I am. My name is Maria, from Spain." "What's your name?"
"Lynn, from Vietnam. Nice to meet you." They shook hands, and Maria introduced her to some of the other students. There was Ahmed from Egypt, Yuki from Japan, and Sophia from Brazil. They all seemed friendly and excited to start learning English together. Soon, the teacher, Mr. Thompson, arrived and welcomed everyone inside. The classroom was bright and had posters with English phrases and grammar rules on the walls. Mr. Thompson introduced himself and explained the course outline. "This is an intensive English course for intermediate learners. We'll be focusing on speaking, listening, reading, and writing skills. There will be group activities, presentations, and regular assessments. Lynn listened attentively, taking notes in her notebook. After the introduction, Mr. Thompson had them do an icebreaker activity. Each student had to introduce themselves and share something interesting about their country. When it was Lynn's turn, she said, "Hi, my name is Lynn, and I'm from Vietnam. Something interesting about my country is that it has beautiful beaches and delicious food like pho and banh mi." The class clapped, and Mr. Thompson smiled. "Thank you, Lynn. I've heard great things about Vietnamese cuisine." The day went by quickly, with lessons on grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Lynn found it challenging, but also fun. She liked interacting with her classmates and practicing her speaking skills. At the end of the day, as they were leaving, Maria invited Lynn to join her and some others for dinner. "Sure, that sounds great," Lynn said. "Where are we going?" "There's a pub nearby that serves good food," Maria replied. "Let's meet there at 7 p.m. Lynn agreed and went back to her hostel to rest and freshen up before dinner.
Chapter 3. Dinner with Friends. That evening, Lynn met Maria, Ahmed, and Yuki at the pub. They found a table and ordered some food and drinks. "So, how was your first day?" Maria asked Lynn. "It was good. The teacher seems nice, and the class is interesting. I'm a bit nervous about keeping up with the lessons, but I think I'll manage." Ahmed nodded. "Yeah, me too. English is not my first language, so I have to work hard." Yuki chimed in. "I've been studying English for a few years, but I still make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn." Lynn smiled. "That's a good point. I need to remember that." They talked about their countries and shared stories about their cultures. Lynn told them about Vietnamese New Year, Tet, and how it's celebrated with family and traditional foods. Maria talked about flamenco dancing in Spain, and Ahmed shared about the pyramids in Egypt. Yuki described the cherry blossom festivals in Japan. It was a lively conversation, and Lynn felt grateful to have such friendly classmates. As they were finishing their meal, the conversation turned to weekend plans. "What are you guys doing this weekend?" Maria asked. "I think I'll go sightseeing," Lynn said. "I want to visit Buckingham Palace and maybe the Tower of London." "Oh, that sounds fun," Yuki said. "I've been wanting to go to the British Museum. Maybe we can go together sometime." "Yes, that would be great," Lynn replied. Ahmed mentioned that he was going to a football match on Saturday. "Do any of you like football?" Maria and Yuki said they did, and Lynn admitted she didn't know much about it but was willing to try. "Maybe next time," Ahmed said with a laugh. They exchanged phone numbers and agreed to keep in touch outside of class. Walking back to her hostel, Lynn felt happy and optimistic about her time in London. She was making new friends and starting to feel more comfortable with her English. Chapter 4. Cultural Confusion. A few weeks later, Lynn was getting more confident in her English skills. She was participating more in class discussions and even volunteering to do presentations. One day after class, she and Maria decided to go shopping at a nearby mall. They wanted to buy some clothes for the upcoming party at school. As they were browsing through the stores, Lynn picked up a dress and asked Maria, "Does this look good on me?" Maria looked at her and said, "Well, it's a bit tight around the waist." Maybe you should try a different size. Lynn felt a bit embarrassed, but appreciated Maria's honesty. She tried on a larger size and it fit better. Thank you for telling me, she said to Maria. I don't want to look silly at the party. Maria laughed. No problem. That's what friends are for. They continued shopping, and Lynn bought a few items. As they were leaving the mall, they passed by a group of people protesting something. Lynn didn't understand what they were saying, but she saw signs with angry messages. What's going on here? She asked Maria. It looks like a demonstration about immigration policies, Maria replied. Some people are upset about the government's decisions. Lynn nodded, not fully understanding the context, but sensing that it was a sensitive topic. Later that evening, she was watching the news on TV in her hostel room when she saw a report about the protest. The anchor was discussing the issues, and Lynn tried to follow along. She heard words like refugees, asylum seekers, and border control. It was a bit confusing, but she knew it was important to stay informed about current events, especially since she was living in a new country. The next day in class, Mr. Thompson brought up the topic of cultural differences and how they can lead to misunderstandings. He asked the class to share any experiences they had with cultural confusion since arriving in London. Lynn thought for a moment and then raised her hand. Well, I remember when I first arrived. I went to a cafe and ordered tea. The barista asked me what kind of tea I wanted, and I was confused because in Vietnam, tea is just tea. Here, there are so many types: Earl Grey, English breakfast, green tea, and more. I didn't know which one to choose. The class laughed, and Mr. Thompson smiled. That's a great example, Lynn. It shows how even simple things like ordering a drink can be different in another culture. Other students shared their stories, like Ahmed mentioning that he was used to eating with his hands in Egypt, but here it's considered rude unless it's certain types of food. Yuki talked about how in Japan, it's polite to slurp noodles, but in England, it's seen as bad manners. The discussion was enlightening, and Lynn realized that cultural differences are everywhere, even in small things. After class, she stayed back to talk to Mr. Thompson about her progress. How do you think you're doing so far, Lynn? He asked. I think I'm improving, but I still make a lot of mistakes, she replied honestly. That's normal. Leah, Chapter 5. Party time. The day of the school party arrived, and Lynn was excited to attend. She had bought a new dress and spent time styling her hair. When she arrived at the venue, which was a rented hall near the school, she saw that many of her classmates were already there. There was music playing, and people were dancing and chatting. She spotted Maria and walked over to her. Hey, you look great, Maria said, giving her a hug. Thank you, so do you, Lynn replied, admiring Maria's outfit. They grabbed some drinks and started mingling with others. Lynn introduced herself to some students she hadn't met before and practiced her English conversation skills. At one point, Mr. Thompson made a speech, thanking everyone for their hard work and encouraging them to have a fun evening. After his speech, there was a karaoke session, and some students took turns singing songs in English. Lynn was a bit nervous but decided to give it a try. She chose a popular song she knew and sang along, much to the delight of her classmates. You have a beautiful voice. Yuki said after her performance. Thank you, Lin said, blushing. The party continued late into the night, and Lin had a wonderful time. She danced, sang, and laughed with her friends. As she was leaving, she realized how much she had grown in confidence since arriving in London. She was proud of herself for stepping out of her comfort zone and making the most of her experience. Chapter 6. Saying Goodbye. The weeks flew by, and before she knew it, Lin's course was coming to an end. She had made many friends and felt that her English had improved significantly. One afternoon, after their last class, the group decided to go out for a farewell dinner. They chose a restaurant that served international cuisine to cater to everyone's tastes. During dinner, they shared memories from their time together and exchanged contact information to stay in touch after they left London. Lin felt a mix of sadness and happiness. She was sad to say goodbye to her friends, but happy about the progress she had made. After dinner, they all hugged and promised to visit each other in their respective countries. Walking back to her hostel, Lin thought about her time in London. She had learned so much, not just about English, but also about different cultures and ways of life. She knew that this experience would stay with her forever, and that she would always treasure the friendships she had made. As she packed her bags the next day, preparing to return to Vietnam, she reflected on how much she had changed. She was more confident, more independent, and more fluent in English. She couldn't wait to see her family and friends back home and share all her stories with them. Conclusion: Lin's journey in London was a transformative experience. She not only improved her English skills, but also gained a deeper understanding of different cultures and the importance of friendship. As she boarded her flight back to Vietnam, she carried with her memories that would last a lifetime and a newfound appreciation for the world around her.